Well, David Ornstein and various news outlets have confirmed the worst Arsenal fans. Gabriel Magalhães is injured. The very thing you didn't want to happen to any of our players during the international break. Such is life. Unfortunately, the early fears for the 27-year-old is that he could miss a minimum of 4 weeks. Some sources have indicated he could be out stretching all the way to January. I don't need to tell you a lot about the run of games we have and the teams we're playing and things of that ilk. It is what it is, but it's a bitter pill to swallow. And forgive me, Arsenal fans, because I do feel with Gabriel Magalhães in particular and him being injured, you might have an element of deja vu. That's because last season, this season ended prematurely. Now, obviously, fast forward to the beginning of this year, he signed a new contract, he had a good preseason, and he started the season blisteringly well. And now look, it is what it is, really and truly. I don't need to insult you lot's intelligence, people. We don't need statistics, or you don't need statistics. You just need eyes to see what Gabriel Magalhães does for Arsenal and what it means to the team. And that, simply put, we win more when he's in the side, people. He's one of those footballers that you definitely appreciate when he's on the field, but I'd say you truly, truly appreciate him when he's not there. You don't know what you have until it's gone, they say in life, eh? Let me ask you guys a question. What's the first word, or better yet, two words that come to mind when you think of Gabriel Magalhães? For me, I could say monster, I could say shithouser, I would say jewel monster, if I'm honest with you. He's been one of the consistently best in the Premier League for a number of years in his aerial duels, his defensive duels, his recovery defending, and his 1v1 defending. Of course, we've got many a player in our Arsenal team, but Magalhães is arguably the best at Arsenal at that and the best in the Premier League at such. When teams go long, it's him that clears up. When the ball needs clearing, it's him clearing up more time. You want to go physical, he's got you. You need a man that's going to have a bit of that edge and dirty moments and actually performing dirty moments of games, he's got you. His partnership with Saliba, it's like yin and yang. It's good cop, bad cop. It can't be overstated. It's probably the best defensive partnership Arsenal have had since Sol Campbell and Kolo Toure. It's one of the best in the Emirates era. It's one of the best in the league, and by default, it's one of the best in the Premier League and in world football, people. When you look at them two, it can't be overstated. Saliba is elegance. Gabriel Magalhães is chaos. Gabriel Magalhães, better yet, is controlled chaos. They complement each other in a way that almost arguably no other centre-half pairing in world football does, really and truly. Got to gas it up a bit. It's Arsenal, in it, people. Take Gabriel Magalhães out, and suddenly Saliba's probably having to defend a bit more wider. I would say Miles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori, whoever is playing left back or inverted left back, ever so slightly, Arteta probably has to tweak your behaviours across a 90-minute game and the positions you take up on the field. Not dramatically, but it is something to consider. The distances between our defence and our midfield, even slightly, all kind of changes. Naturally, it's not to say those that go in, go into the team ahead of Gabriel Magalhães will in place, better yet, of him. It's not to say they can't defend and our behaviors can't stay the same, but think about it logically. If you're playing Arsenal Football Club, not that we, haven't got also other good defenders in addition to Saliba, but if you're missing a key cog of that defensive unit, you're going to try and exploit that, specifically our left-hand side, and obviously their right-hand side. Teams are going to target that left channel just a bit more, if I'm honest with you. Gabriel Magalhães isn't just a centre-back for Arsenal, man. He's the poster boy of the defensive system. We've come a long way with Magalhães. Oh, Pablo Mari's gonna overtake him. Calafiori's gonna phase him out of the centre-half pairing. Do you know how vital Magalhães has been? And you just need to look at Magalhães' progression in the time he's been here. You could correlate that to where we was in 2019 and where we are now. I know we still ain't won silverware, for the rival. Now, obviously, Gabriel Magalhães, we're going to miss him for a number of footballing reasons. As dumb as this is going to sound, because I've just been talking up his praises, he's a world-class centre-back, all of that kind of stuff, one of the best in the league and in the world. And obviously, we just care about literally if there's something wrong with you, you're not able to physically play football. So obviously, that's a factor, right? For me, it's leadership. It's those kind of fine margins. I'm not saying we haven't got other leaders. I'm not saying other people can't step up, but he is one of the leaders in that team. Arguably, a lot of people would have Gabriel Magalhães and Declan Rice, or one of the two, as their captains if it wasn't Martin Odegaard. You look at where Gabriel Magalhães was 5 or so years ago, and look where he is now, people. He's come a long way. He's learned how to temper that madness in him and get it out in a positive way. He's now gone from being inconsistent to consistent in all aspects, people. He's one of our leaders. He's one of our leaders without wearing the armband. You see it in his communication, the way he organizes the line, the way he steps up, his recovery, his calmness on the ball. When things get chaotic, he's one of the few players who actually enjoy the chaos and defending in that chaos, which is rare in world football. It's not just him who's got that, but you get where I'm going. And that's why, for me, his loss hits beyond the obvious just that much harder, ultimately, people. Without Gabriel Magalhães, Arsenal's left-hand side collapses. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating a bit. I wouldn't say collapses, but it does take a significant hit. As you know, football is about relationships. And the more you play together, the more you have consistent players available, the better you are. Gabriel Magalhães has been a consistent and central piece to that, give or take, people. So, yeah, just thought, let me shock the system a little bit. So, yeah, I wouldn't quite say the left-hand side collapses, but it does take a hit. The left centre-back role in this Arsenal team, it's not just about defending. It covers the left back inverting, it protects the left half space, it handles transitions. Obviously, we play with a high line. I would also say Gabriel Magalhães tends to be the aggressor, and Saliba kind of sweeps up. Not that it allows Rice to push further forward, but someone like Magalhães allows Rice to push further forward and have the confidence of that. And I do think with managing the half space with that left-sided 8, forget the fact that it's Declan Rice, it does allow him and it does promote him to gamble further high up the field. It allows the winger to stay wide and high and wide. Apologies. You take that away, or you take him away, and you could still replicate that. But it does suddenly begin to kind of shift. You might see Rice or Zubimendi have to play ever slightly deeper. You might see the left back have to change their behaviors consistently over 90 minutes. You might even see potentially the space between the left back and the left-sided half space, exposed a tiny bit. Maybe potentially the knock-on effect, not necessarily anything to do with Magalhães, is the press is kind of affected, people, or better yet, disjointed. As I said, people are going to target that side a bit, people. Gabriel Magalhães is Arsenal's insurance policy, and without him, our structure does become a bit more fragile, if I'm completely honest. Not to mention, Gabriel Magalhães, as I said earlier, is effective and efficient in both boxes. Big threat from set pieces, whether he's getting goals or assists or whatever, people. He's a big threat. He's inevitable. We see it all the time. How many players? It feels like there's 10 players marking him 9 times out of 10, and they can't stop him. That's not to say other players can't do it, but Nicholas Over's probably going to have to try something new in that regards, people. Which is crazy, if I'm honest with you. We're going to have to get on with it. Simply put, Arsenal without Gabriel at set pieces, it is a huge downgrade, with the greatest of respect. Now, you lot know me, people. You lot know my thing. For me, I think injuries are part and parcel. Bitter pill to swallow. Get on with it. All of those kind of things. Even though Gabriel Magalhães, we love him, we need him. You want your strongest players. If there is anything that I'm concerned about beyond the obvious, and on the topic, if you don't know me, make sure you hit the subscribe button. What happened to you, man? But anyways, if there is anything that concerns me, but on the obvious, people, and big up to you lot for persisting this long, it's the knock-on effect. As we know, people, when players get injured, that's one thing. But then you're reliant a bit more on the players that are fit, and then there's less capabilities to rest and rotate and have different solutions and all of these kind of things, people. You get the point I'm making. And also on top of that, people, assuming the worst, because I do believe in life, people, you got to hope for the best. You also have to assume the worst. If he is out until January, people, which it will be like a new signing, word to Wenger, but if he's out until January, that means we've got our defense taking a significant hit, or our defense potentially at its weakest at the moment, heading into probably the strongest part of the season, the business end in terms of the fixtures. On paper, this is a hard run of games, people. Again, you can say what you want about these sides, but you look at our fixture calendar list: North London derby, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Aston Villa potentially, well, twice in December, Brentford, Champions League ties, etc., etc. And obviously, if he's back in January, that doesn't mean from January the 1st, for example, you've been signed off to resume training. You're ready to play again and again and again, and things of that ilk, people. So it's a difficult thing, man. 9 times out of 10, football games are decided by small and tiny margins, people. Potentially, one missing centre-back could change everything. And then you look at it, Arteta has tough decisions, but you're the manager. Arguably, you've got tough decisions, but you've never had better ones, because we're hardly looking around and seeing Mustafi and Rob Holding, and with the greatest of respect, you've got some great options. So what does he do? in my opinion. We'll get to it. Does he go Saliba and Hincapié? Does he go Mascara and Saliba? Does he bring Calafiori as a centre half and go with Miles Lewis Skelly? I don't think this will be the case, but there's also the option of Azurian Timber and Benjamin White being slotted in at centre half. And I would say, side note, people, because of our defensive options and their ability to play everywhere and the amount of games we've got, again, you can see the knock-on effect and how coincidentally, whether you're a fullback or a centre half or a bit of a hybrid, Gabriel Magalhães' injury has a knock-on effect for ultimately our defensive unit and also the squad. But this is football. The only consolation, people, is that, this Arsenal squad has more depth than ever before, particularly in defence. As I said, there's a variety of solutions, whether it's Mascara, Calafiori, whatever you want to do, and names not mentioned, people. The only concern, naturally, is not take nothing away from these players, but naturally, in general, when a defence weakens, a team, or better yet, when the defence weakens, the midfield automatically drops. That indirectly means we're creeping deeper into our half. That indirectly means we're less of an attacking threat. We're slower on the transitions. There's more pressure when building out from the back, potentially even more sideways football. Football, it all connects. We've got three teams in one. You've got your midfield, your defense, and obviously your attack. They're three sub teams and they all merge into one. Now, again, I hate to keep waffling about last season, but you saw what happened last season with injuries. Now, obviously, when we made all of these signings, the only conversation us as Arsenal fans want to have around depth is who's in the starting 11, who's on the bench. Unfortunately, this is the other side as to why you need depth. And last season was a case study, in terms of massive injuries or mass injuries. You go back a few years where Gabriel's defensive partner, William Saliba, went down in the first year we fought for the title. And then even of those 3 years, excluding now, people, the middle year where I think we ran the title down to the last day of the season, while we kept everybody fit on paper, I'm sure the Partey's, the Tomiyasus, I'm missing out another name, they had injuries. So this isn't anything unique. This isn't anything new. We had to have sat there in pre-season or whenever we was drafting plans and saying, God forbid, if Saliba gets injured, this is what we're doing. Saka gets injured, this is what we're doing. Gabriel gets injured, this is what we're doing. It's part and parcel of the game, and it's not going to go anywhere, people. These professional footballers that play for their country and typically a top 6 side competing in multiple trophies, you're looking at minimum 50 games a season, potentially 70 across a calendar year. And when you look for club and country, there's just more games, more pointless friendlies, more international tournaments, more club tournaments, more whatever. Players are guinea pigs. And unfortunately, this is going to happen to many a player at Arsenal and many players in world football. Like, this is the game. And I think, with it being 17 games into the season, you can never have too many players in it, really and truly. I always try and think not just about the micro, but the macro. A week is a long time in football. We've had 17 different game weeks. We are in November and there's been plenty of talking points about Arsenal. So God only knows what we'll be talking about in May. And that's my point, people. You got to think about the micro and the macro and the bigger picture and how this could be a concern for the bigger picture. Injuries happen. It is what it is. But let's have it right. Arsenal are competing in 4 competitions. We're trying to win all of them, if not at least one in it. Like, we need to get over the line, people. The Premier League, the Champions League, the League Cup, the FA Cup, whatever have you. And other players will step up. But there is that thought in the back of your mind, people. Can you do that without stability at centre half? Can you do that without your first choice defensive centre half pairing? Easily, as I said earlier, Saliba and Gabriel, best centre halves of the Emirates era, best partnership we've had at the Emirates Stadium, probably one of the best partnerships in Arsenal history of recent times as well, people. Losing either one is bad for a month. Losing one for potentially the whole of what's left of the year, essentially, and for whatever point in January is absolutely brutal, people. There's also opportunities, though. There's opportunities for other players to step up, and that's what we're going to have to do. Fans like to sit here and talk about our depth. If our depth is that good, now it's time for the players that can step in to do something. And I've got all the faith in the world in Mascara and Hincapié and all of those kind of things, people, and anyone else for that matter. And it also provides maybe Mikel Arteta with the chance to test new build-up structures. The squad was already resilient, but it's an added opportunity to grow even more resilient. And the key thing here is simple. If Arsenal can survive this period without any major damage, still in the race, we come out stronger. And what we want to achieve in May, we are still on course to do that. In life could be better. but it also sure as hell could be a lot worse. We've got more depth than we could ever hope for. If there's one kind of sub unit in Arsenal where we're comfortable, it's our defensive ranks, people. So we're gonna have to just get on with it. You know, you would imagine that this was a factor in terms of injuries and losing key players when we signed people in the summer. So you have to imagine, in particular, in Hincapié and Mascara, Arsenal have to believe, specifically internally at the club, that we have the ability and the durability to cope with Gabriel Magalhães' absence, and that these players are more than worthy and deserving and have the competence to do such, people. Now, my only question is, what does Mikel Arteta do? Because I don't think it's like one solution. I don't think if he opts for whatever, like that's going to be it from now to when Magalhães is back. We're going to have to box smartly and things of that ilk. So we're going to have to utilize everyone. But then you look at it, does Mikel Arteta opt to keep the balance between a left-footed centre-half and a right-footed centre-half, to which do you drag Calafiori across, or do you insert Hincapié, who is actually trying to get a run of games because he's had groin surgery and a bit of complications, But then you look at it, in terms of trying to want to fix one problem, could you indirectly, make more? Because if you given Calafiori's form and how he's excelling at left back, could moving him into the middle be an unnecessary complication, people? Which would obviously make him Capier, the obvious solution. Now, Saliba is an option to move to the left-hand side. Do you want to keep him on the right-hand side? Mascara can play left-sided centre-back and also right-sided centre-back. And, you'd imagine Mascara, to be fair, is the third in the pecking order. Hasn't put a foot wrong. Brilliant signing. Boscara, as we call him. And again, if he slots in, it is what it is. But then it does wonder, does Mikel Arteta once again, does he opt for Calafiori? Does he opt for Hincapié? Does he bring in Mascara? Does he go with Timber or White? Does he think on the fly and play it by ear week in, week out? Either way, it's one where, as a fan, my heart bleeds for the club. My heart bleeds for Gabriel Magalhães, and we wish him all the best. But for Mikel Arteta, for an overthinker, as you should be as a manager, you've got to figure it out. And for me, I don't want to do the doom is gloom thing. We're Arsenal. It was never going to be a straightforward process, people. We're just going to have to get on with it.